For some reason, I've always loved viewing my friends through a camera lens. I used to document ordinary days, edit them to music, and secretly post them online. Recently, I've started taking pictures trying to capture the free black female form. I wanted to put black bodies into the 80s fantasies I'd fell in love with while watching old VHS tapes as a kid. The prom queen, forest nymph, the princess. I think I felt so distant from it all that staging my own fantasies was how I could get my personal story across. I had a friend in high school who told me her Xbox Live avatar was an illustration she had made on Paint of 3 KKK members lynching a black person. She was white. She was also one of the few people on my basketball team who it seemed weren't forced to actually pass me the ball in freshman year. I mean, I was no good, but it did seem kind of personal during practice one day when half the girls decided to play a joke on me by throwing basketballs at my head. I didn't fight back. I didn't correct them, because deep down, I wanted to make them like me for me. Hashtag black girl problems.
And so she kind of explained it to me like, oh, like he doesn't like your skin color. And I was like, oh, so it's not me, like it's my skin, like something that I can't even control. And so I think that was definitely the moment I realized like black was not beautiful, or else I thought that being black wasn't beautiful. And
like taking like a cute little MySpace picture, and she commented on it. She's like, oh my God, you're such a dirty, stinky little monkey. Like you look like a burnt marshmallow. You wish you were white. Like you have greasy hair, blah, blah, blah.
It just felt like it was a curse that way. Because it was like, okay, well, if I ever fall in love with a white guy, it's just not going to happen. Because they don't even want to try being more than friends with me.
Oh yeah, Teezy's cool for a black girl, or Teezy's nice for a black girl, or she's cute for a black girl. It's never like Teezy's cute.
Bad kids would like sit in the back of the bus, and I would sit at the very front so I didn't have to deal with it. And like one time, somebody had like asked me a question and asked me to come back there, and they're like, no, she can't come back here, she ain't black, she can't come back here. And I'm just like, okay.
People always find a reason to have an other within me, you know what I mean?
However, the internet showed me the limitations of my predominantly white, middle-class town. It offered a brave new world of obscurity. The first time I was called hipster was in 6th grade. I was in one of my elective tech classes, and me and this older boy were getting in a debate about music. At one point, I insulted one of his favorite top 40 artists. I like debating music because while I wasn't seen as their equal, I could kind of flex my cultural clout. A few years later, in a humanities class at MSU, I read an article by Sarah Thornton. She used a guy named Pierre Bardot's model for cultural capital to explain how youth can transcend class through their knowledge of subculture. Just as cultural capital is personified in good manners and witty conversation, so subcultural capital is embodied, using, but not overusing, current slang and looking as if you were born to perform the latest dance styles. That, my friends, is the power of talking the talk and walking the walk. At first, I wore this label with a smug pride.
Can't tell me shit, like I am a music connoisseur, like I know everything about indie rock and you know nothing.
So, I go online and I search black hipster on Google search images just to see if there was a community for us melanated culture nerds. Lo and behold, there was. Hi, my name is Audrey Matusz and I'm a blipster.
Why are you not listening to the new Nicki Minaj record? And I'm like, cause I want to listen to fucking Fleet Foxes. I want to listen to Washed Out.
There were plenty of jokes about skateboards, afros, and Williamsburg, but to sum up the internet's feelings in 2011 about blipsters, it's that we are African Americans that dress white and listen to white people music. So you can see how this was kind of a dead end for me. I mean, really, me being called a hipster is basically saying I'm a cultural imposter. The other, if you will. So just added to my frustration as a biracial, not really athletic, quirky, awkward girl living in a predominantly white, prep school, conservative environment. It was a bummer because I identified with these so-called indie sounds that I was infatuated with. I found solace in the uncategorical patterns and rhythms that I was hearing. It was as if my knowledge of the obscure was how I started making sense of myself.
I haven't like hung out and like been back to Inkster in quite some time. Like my family, like when I was in high school, moved to the next town over that I went to middle school and high school, which was like Westland, Michigan, which is like predominantly white, but the area is changing. Yeah, music was something that I was super getting into at this point in time and doing like a lot of searching and like spending a lot of time on iTunes. Like 5th grade, I got my first iPod, and it was like a huge moment in my life, because then it was just like I opened up this whole new realm of like the internet and like things that I could explore and like people that you could meet. And so like I really got into this band called Mute Math in 6th grade, and then this is the other Mute Math record that started it all, you know. This record is the record that changed my life. And I remember the moment that I heard the very first Mute Math song I ever heard. It's called Chaos. It's track number 4. Is the best song on this record. And I remember it was my 11th birthday party. So this is like 6th grade. We had the TV on because we were more than likely like watching Degrassi, because like was and still am incredibly obsessed with that show. And like I'd gotten up to like go get cake or something from the kitchen, and there's a music video that came on. And just like I'm not really even paying attention to this, but I hear, because like the tune starts off with like 2 drum hits, and so I heard that on the TV, and it like immediately grabbed my attention. And so I like look over, and then the next thing I know, I'm like sitting like in front of my TV, like as close to the screen as you can possibly be, and I'm just like watching this video like in amazement and like hearing this song for the first time, and it's like nothing I've ever heard before, and it like completely just like drew me in. I was like so consumed, like I forgot that like people were like here for my birthday, like it wasn't even about that anymore. So the song goes off, and I'm like so sad. I'm like, no, like I need more of this. And luckily I had gotten like a bunch of iTunes gift cards because it was my birthday. And so like I like ran over to the computer and like immediately like found the album on iTunes and like bought the album on iTunes and just like listened to it the whole night with all my friends and stuff around. And they're like, stop playing that. And I'm like, you fucking stop. It's my birthday. Like, fuck you. I want to listen to this. This is the best thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And I like watched this movie, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. And there's like a scene in there where one of the characters talks about like these demon hipster chicks, and they have like this very specific haircut, and I was like, okay, I need to know what this is. And like I look up hipster, and it was like literally like the most vague but like accurate description of who I am as an individual. And I was like, oh my god, I am a hipster. But like fuck that label. Like I'm me. Like I was this before this hipster label, you know, but that's like such a hipster thing to say. But then shortly after this whole craze of like we hate hipsters, like hipsters are dumb, like that was like a huge wave that was going on in society and like on the internet and stuff. And so then I was like, okay, maybe I should like look into this. Like what is this?
You see, the hipster is uncategorical good and evil. I never go there. It's full of hipsters. You're such a hipster. I could never pull that off. The displacement of being black is similar at times. Even in middle school, I was drawing a connection between the ambivalence of the hipster and the restrictions on black identity.
I just kind of like started interacting with people on the internet more, and like I started my own YouTube channel strictly to talk about music and music reviews and like album reviews and that things of that nature, and like had this whole community of people who related to me solely based on something that I was interested in, and not whether or not I talked like a white girl or whether I was a hipster or like whether I was this or that. Just because I wanted to talk about music and we had similar music tastes in common.
Because of the internet, I was able to find other Blipster misfits like George Lewis Jr. Wait, have you heard of Twin Shadow before? Oh, I'm about to put you on. George Lewis Jr. is a musician born in the Dominican Republic. He's had several accomplishments, like scoring the Bill T. Jones Arnie Zane Dance Company, influencing fashion labels, and making fire albums that continue to defy genres. The first song I heard of his was Slow. It popped up as a recommendation on YouTube. Along with debating his sexuality and race, the hipsters argued back and forth in the comment section about whether he sounded like Morrissey or not, eventually crowning George the title of the Black Morrissey. I won't begin to even deny my obsessive personality. Black Morrissey led to hours of surfing the internet to find blog posts of black people confessing their complex love for Morrissey, who has made racist comments in the past. I found a Coachella discussion forum on Reddit called Twin Shadow, the new Black Morrissey. The debate over how a black artist could sound like a white indie god seemed like the contradiction of the century. My favorite comment was, I guess Tori Moa wanted too much money. This thread is just evidence of the trope surrounding the black indie artist. I started listening to Tori Moa around 2010, not too long after editing this video of me and my friends trick-or-treating. I was my sophomore year of high school, which is kind of embarrassing. Alternative black artists like Tori Moa and Twin Shadow, who revolutionized indie music, were still being profiled and policed under their self-expression, just like Jimi Hendrix or Prince. Also, since 2011, when I first discovered the word blipster, black people haven't really gathered around this label. I mean, I get it. Labels are the root of the problem, but I low-key was looking forward to reclamation of the term. I mean, why not? My junior year at MSU, for my music and technology class, I started a research paper dissecting the Black Morrissey. Unfortunately, it turned into an incomprehensible rant called The Devil Wears Yeezys that focused on lifestyle marketing, why I love Tyler and not Kanye, and other black icons. Regardless, my research did lead me to an essay written by Norman Mailer called The White Negro. Norman Mailer was a controversial writer that came to be known in the late 40s with his novel The Naked and the Death. He's been accused of being racist and a misogynist, but I happen to think he's one of the most fascinating American thinkers I've come across as a student. No wonder, then, that these have been the years of conformity and depression. A stench of fear has come out of every pore of American life, and we suffer from a collective failure of nerve. The only courage, with rare exceptions, that we can witness to has been the isolated courage of isolated people. He starts with the classic metaphor of there being two types of people, the hip and the squares. One is a Western frontiersman of the American nightlife, the other trapped in the totalitarian tissues of American society, doomed willy-nilly to conform if one is to succeed. Mailer, a New Yorker himself, established Greenwich Village as the birthplace of the hipster, where the bohemian and the juvenile delinquent come face to face with the Negro. Mailer reiterates several times throughout the novel that in this marriage of the white and the black, it is the Negro who brings the cultural dowry. I don't know why it took a dead white Jew to tell me this, but basically, the reason Blipster never took off was because it was more ironic than being a hipster in the first place. Being black is by default alternative. Do you know who the first hipster was? If you answered Marlon Brando, you're correct. Well, technically his character, Jimmy, from The Wild One. Jimmy was in a biker gang, listened to jazz, and masterfully used slang, aka African American vernacular. By first hipster, I mean this is the first Hollywood film that characterized the hipster and also was the dawn of teen cinema. Then there was this blockbuster, A Rebel Without a Cause, which basically immortalized James Dean as the symbol of teen angst. Both James and Marlon will live on as beloved rebels, while others will remain controversial, thugs, and threats to society. Once I unlearned what it meant to be a hipster, so too changed my understanding of blackness. There are no rules on how to be black. If I had to pick a hashtag that best describes the alma mater to the school of moi, it would have to be hashtag carefree black girl, encouraging young black boys and girls to pursue their interests in opposition to the standard is guaranteeing the cultural rebels of tomorrow. We're gonna do it live. Okay, here we go. What a man feels is the impulse of his creative effort. And if an alien but nonetheless passionate instinct about the meaning of life has come so unexpectedly from a virtually illiterate people, come out of the most intense conditions of exploitation, cruelty, violence, frustration, and lust, and yet has succeeded as an instinct in keeping his tortured people alive, then it is perhaps possible that the Negro holds more of the tail of the expanding elephant of truth than the radical. And if this is so, the radical humanist could do worse than to brood upon the phenomenon.